Problem number 2. The sum of 18 consecutive positive integers is a perfect square. What is the smallest possible value of this sum? Alright, so what do 18 consecutive positive integers look like? Well, we can just, the first one, if we call it n, we don't know what it is. But the next one, we know is going to be n plus 1, right? Because they're consecutive. And n plus 2, and n plus 3, and so on, all the way up to what? N plus 17. Now I know it says 18 consecutive integers, but you have to recognize that the first one, the one they're counting as the first positive integer, is n plus 0. And the second one is n plus 1. So it's, the number that we're adding is just off by 1 from the numbering system we're working with. So the 18th one is going to be n plus 17. Alright, and that'll give us 18 consecutive integers. So, and we're told that the sum is a perfect square. So what does the sum of that look like? Now, we're going to have 18 n's, right? And then we're going to have the sum of 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 17. Okay? Now, there's a formula, if you've seen my lesson videos on counting lists of numbers and arithmetic series, and there's one on Gaussian addition, and so there's one way you can do it, which is to take the first number times the last number, first number plus the last number, okay, which would be n, was the first number, plus n plus 17, okay, and this is to get the sum. I'll say sum equals, alright, so we take the first number plus the last number times the number of numbers, okay, and the number of numbers is 18, and divide that by 2, and that will give you the sum. Alright, so if we do it that way, we get essentially 2n plus 17 times, and if I divide 18 by 2, I'll get 9. Alright, so so that would be one way to do it. And either that, or we can just, you have n in each one. When we add them up, we'll have 18 n's. You can see that we've got 18 n's. And then we have to add the numbers 1 through 18. Now you could do that by hand. That's the hard way to do it, is to do it by hand. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15, and so on. You can keep doing that. But again, you can just do the first number plus the last number times the number of numbers. Now in this case, this is 0, so so this is going to be 17 all over 2, which again just gives us 18 divided by 2, 9 times 17. Okay. And if we add then the 18 n's, okay, 18n, so you'll get the same thing, right? And I'm not going to multiply this out because it says that the sum is a square, and I'm seeing right here, hey, we have a square. One of the factors is a square. So if I can make the other factor a square, then the whole thing will be a square. Alright, so let's do that. So we want 9 times 2n plus 17 to be something squared. Alright, and it says, what is the smallest sum possible? Well, you can see that, well, okay, so this is 3 squared, and then in order for this to be a square, then this has to be something squared. Alright, so we want actually 2n plus 17 to also be a square. And you can see that if n is positive, and it says that these are consecutive positive integers, then this can't be any less than 17. If this was 0, this would be 17. And 0 is not positive, so it's got to be at least 1. So let's think about the squares. 16 is a square, but obviously that's going to be too small. So the next square after that is 25. Okay, so the smallest square that would, you know, that would satisfy this equation when n is positive would be 25. So now let's figure out what n would be. So if we subtract 17 from both sides, then we get 2n is equal to what? 8? And so n is equal to 4. So we'll have 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 all the way up to 4 plus 17, which would be 21. Alright, then we add all those up. And the problem asks us for the sum. So let's figure out that sum. If we have the numbers 4 plus 5 plus 6 all the way up to 21, what is that sum? Well, we could just substitute it back in here, because this was the sum, right? So this 9 times 2n plus 17. So let's just do that. So 2n is 8 plus 17. Now obviously that's 25 times 9, right? 25 times 9. Alright, this is 25. Oops. Times 9. Alright, so what's 25 times 9? So 25 times 9, essentially 25 less than 250, right? Because if 10 times 9 would be 250, and if 9 times 25 would just be 25 less. So I know it's going to be 225. Alright, or you could work it out. So there's 45, carry the 4, 18 plus 4 is 22. Alright, so the answer is that the sum of those 18 consecutive positive integers is 225. Alright, so there's your answer.